Tonight, the labor deal that prevented a catastrophic railroad shutdown. Rail companies and union leaders reached a tentative agreement less than 24 hours before workers were set to walk off the job. President Biden announced the deal after an all-night negotiating session. The deal avoids a shutdown of the nation's freight trains and passenger traffic that could have devastated the already fragile economy less than 2 months before the midterm elections. Amtrak is scrambling to restore service after the company canceled all long-distance routes ahead of a possible work stoppage. Well, we have a lot of news to get to tonight, and CBS's Nancy Cordes will start us off from the White House. Good evening, Nancy. So how did this deal come together?
Lots of coffee, Norah, some late-night nudging by the president, and a meeting between union leaders and rail owners that was not allowed to end until they shook hands.
Yes, I am very pleased to announce a tentative labor agreement.
Standing in the Rose Garden, President Biden hailed a deal to head off what would have been the first rail strike since 1992.
This is a win for tens of thousands of rail workers and for their dignity.
The agreement was the product of marathon 20-hour talks led by Labor Secretary Marty Walsh.
But they weren't getting out. I can tell you that. I told them, you're not getting out of this room.
Walsh says a strike would have cost the U.S. economy $2 billion a day.
We have food and grain and corn waiting to be transported across the country, so that wouldn't have gotten there. That would have rotted. We have other supplies that go on trains, so it would have been devastating. 12
unions secured the largest wage increases for railroad workers in more than 4 decades, a raise of 24% over 5 years. They also secured 1 more day of paid leave and, for the first time, the right to take unpaid leave to attend medical appointments.
Railroads were not particularly keen on giving us more time away from work because that means you need more employees to run your operation. So I think it's a victory.
That victory, so close to the deadline, did come at a price. Amtrak had already canceled some long-distance trains, and GM, anticipating auto part shortages, had been prepping to close some plants.
Why did it get to this point, the eve of a strike? Couldn't that have been averted?
What I asked at the end of the conversation last night, when everything was done, to the companies and to the union, let's not repeat this. Let's get to the table earlier next year.
This standoff was a big test for a man who has frequently billed himself as, quote, the most pro-union president ever. And the test isn't quite over yet, Norah. This deal still has to be voted on by more than 100,000 rail workers. A series of votes that will take place over the next few weeks.
They are so critical to our economy. Nancy Cordes, thank you.